Hello, dear students. We are back again with the next part of the lesson, the last lesson. As I said, I would segment the entire lesson into short videos. Here it is, the second portion or the second part of the lesson. So, little friends, when he reached school, he saw that everything was really very strange and solemn on that day. He had already seen, he had already observed his teacher, M. Hamill, dressed in his special dress that he used to wear on prize days or inspection days. So when he reached school, he saw that the entire atmosphere, the environment of the school was really very strange, something which was really bizarre, something unusual, and very solemn. Solemn means very serious, very grave, austere. Okay, so the atmosphere was really very strange. It was also very serious. Everything looked very serious, and it was very quiet as well, very silent, just like a Sunday morning. But the thing that surprised me most was to see on the back benches that were always empty the village people sitting quietly like ourselves. So the most surprising thing of all was to see the sight of the people sitting on the back benches in the classroom. Those back benches always used to be empty in the classroom, but on that day, on that given day, those back benches were occupied by some village people. Those people were sitting quietly, silently, like ourselves, like them, like little friends and his classmates. There was the old Hauser with his three-cornered hat. The old Hauser was there. Then he was wearing a three-cornered hat. He was wearing a hat with three corners. Then the former mayor. Then the former postmaster. And several others besides. So there was the old Hauser. So a person with social responsibility. And he was wearing his three corners hat. So a person actually with a social designation actually, and the former mayor was there, and the former postmaster was there, and several others besides. So many other people were also around. All these people were sitting on those back benches, and when Franz reached the school, he was really very surprised to see all of them occupying those back benches, because those benches were always empty. When they went to school, when they were in fact sitting in the classroom, they always used to observe that those benches used to be empty. But on that day, all these people are sitting on those benches. Everybody looked sad, and Hauser had brought an old primer, and everybody looked very sad, very serious, very solemn. And the Hauser, that old man, he had brought an old primer. He had brought an elementary book. Primer means an elementary book. Thumbed at the edges. He used to thumb at the edges of the book. He used to put an impression, his thumb impression at the edges. He used to just actually press his thumb on the edges of the book. And he held it open on his knees, and he just held it open on his knees. He, in fact, kept that elementary book, the primer, open on his knees. He opened the book and kept it open on his knees, with his great spectacles lying across the pages. And he was wearing his great spectacles, big spectacles, his lenses, the glasses, to help him see properly, to help him read properly. So he was just going through those pages. In fact, he was just using his big spectacles to see what was written there. Rather, he was struggling to read what was written there in that primer, in that elementary book. And after that, Franz saw In fact, while I was wondering about it all, M. Hamel mounted his chair and in the same grave and gentle tone which he had used to me, said, "My children, this is the last lesson I shall give you." Okay, so after that, Franz was thinking or wondering. He was wondering. Wondering means thinking. He was thinking, contemplating about it all. He was thinking so many things. Then M. Hamel mounted his chair and on the same grave, and then in the same grave, in a serious and a gentle tone, which he had used to me. And he was very polite, very gentle, very generous on that day. But at the same time, really very serious, very grave. Then he said, simply said, told them, rather informed them that, "My children, this is the last lesson I shall give you." Then he informed everyone that this would be the last lesson that he would impart. This would be the last lesson that he would give to all of them sitting there. The order has come from Berlin to teach only German in the schools of Alsace, Alsace and Lorraine. So already the order had come from Berlin to teach only the German language, because France was already, as I have already stated, there was a war between France and Prussia, which was then a combination of Germany, Austria, and Poland. So as France was defeated by Germany there, the order had come from the Prussian authorities that only German language should be taught in the districts, in the schools of Alsace and Lorraine. The new master comes tomorrow. He also informed, he added that the new master would arrive the next day. "This is your last French lesson. I want you to be very attentive." Then his father said that this would be the last French lesson, and he asked everyone, he rather informed or he requested everyone to be very attentive, to concentrate on that last lesson, because from the very next day there would be no more lessons in French language. There would be only German language, which would be imparted from the next day. So after that, what a thunderclap these words were to me. Then Franz, to little Franz, those words were nothing less than a thunderclap. Thunderclap, students, is a sound of thunder. When there is thunder and lightning in the sky, we hear those loud sounds of thunder when these clouds actually they create a sort of sound before rain, or sometimes when the weather suddenly gets really inclement or bad. Then we hear the sound of those clouds and producing that thundering sound. So it was just like a clapping of the thundering sounds. So those words were nothing less than a thunderclap to little Franz, because he was shocked. It was a thunderclap because little Franz was shocked. It was outrageous, shocking news to little Franz. He never thought that he would not be able to learn French language from the very next day. Oh, the wretches! That was what they had put up at the town hall. Then little Franz realized that it was the news that was hung on the bulletin board. It was the news that was put up on the bulletin board, and that's why so many people thronged or gathered in front of the bulletin board to see what was written there. My last French lesson. Why, I hardly knew how to write. I should never learn anymore. So he just sighed that this would be the last French lesson. Why, I hardly knew how to write. He thought that he had hardly read his language. He had hardly written his language, and I should never learn anymore. He regretted, rather he lamented He expressed sadness that he wasted his time. He never tried to learn his language properly. And from the very next day, he would be unable to learn his language anymore. So I should never learn anymore. So he would never get the opportunity again. So after that, I must stop there and then. Then he said that I must stop there and then. I must stop. Then, there and then, he realized that he had to stop there. There was no other option. He simply had to stop there. Oh, how sorry I was for not learning my lessons. Then he regretted. He expressed sadness. Rather, he was very sorry. Very sad that he never attempted, never tried to learn his lessons. Forsaking birds' eggs or going sliding on the Saar. Saar is a river there in Alsace. Okay, so he was really very sorry that he never tried to learn his lessons. He always sought birds' eggs. He was on the lookout for birds' eggs. He was looking for birds' eggs. That means he was wasting his time, not learning his lessons properly, not learning his language properly. And then, in fact, he also went to enjoy sliding in the Saar. He also went to enjoy boating there in the Saar, or going and sliding of the Saar. He went to enjoy that river Saar and the riverine area. So this is basically what he used to do. So he has just mentioned certain activities that he used to give preference or give more importance than learning his language. My books that had seemed such a nuisance. Nuisance means distress, trouble. Students, nuisance is a word that means trouble or distress. My books that had seemed such a nuisance a while ago, so happy to carry. My grammar and my history of the saints were old friends now that I could not give up. So, my books were a trouble a while ago. It seemed so happy to carry. My grammar and the history of the saints, he felt as if they were his old friends that he could not give up. He could not give up all these things. And M. Hamel too, M. Hamel also, the idea that he was going away, M. Hamel was going away. So I should never see him again. And he also thought that he would never be able to see him again. Made me forget all about his ruler and how cranky he was, how unpleasant. Cranky means unpleasant, an unpleasant person. So he thought that he would not be able to see his M. Hamel, his teacher, again. Made him forget. The thought that he would not be able to learn his language, his French language, made him very sad. He also forgot about the ruler of M. Hamel, about the ruler of his teacher, and how cranky he was, how unpleasant he used to be sometimes, because he never used to enjoy his classes. He never used to study with attention. So, but suddenly when he got the news that there would be no learning, no teaching of French language, he was shocked, startled. So all these things, the latest developments, it made him forget how unpleasant M. Hamel was to him. In fact, he felt that he was a very pleasant person, and all his books, his grammar books or the history of the saints, everything, those suddenly appeared to be very, very pleasant indeed, and very, very interesting indeed. Poor man, it was in honor of the last lesson that he had put on his fine Sunday clothes. So he felt a deep sense of sympathy for M. Hamel. Rather, little Franz said that he was Perry, he was a poor man at that point of time. And it was in honor of the last lesson that he had put on the fine Sunday clothes. And to pay a tribute to the last lesson, M. Hamel had put on his fine Sunday clothes. That he used to wear those special clothes on the special occasions. He put on those special clothes just because he wanted to honor or pay a tribute to the last friend's lesson. And now I understood why the old man of the village were sitting there in the back of the room. So then he understood suddenly why all the old people of the village were sitting in the back benches in the room. It was because they were sorry. They were unhappy too. They were also unhappy that they had not gone to school more, because they also neglected their studies. They also did not concentrate on their studies. They did not enjoy their studies. They did not learn their language properly. It was their way of thanking our master for his 40 years of faithful service. So it was a way of thanking. They wanted to thank. They intended to thank. They tried to thank their master M. Hamel because he rendered, he provided, he gave them 40 years of faithful service. He served the place for 40 years. He had been working there for a period of 40 years, imparting teaching. So they wanted to thank him wholeheartedly, and of showing their respect for the country that was theirs no more. And the old people realized that they should have learned their lessons. They should have learned their language properly. And they also wanted to show their respect for their country, France, because they would be deprived from learning their language from the very next day. So they wanted to show their respect towards their country and towards their language. They also gathered there to pay their respect to M. Hamel, because from the very next day, France would be no more. The language France would be no more. They would be unable to learn the language. So everyone was getting really emotional. Really, they were feeling very passionate about their language and their country. Okay, students, with this, we come to the end of this segment. In the next one, I will upload the next portion of the video, next portion of the lesson. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.